Hey, hello everyone, welcome to today's video. It is the 12th of November. Let's take a look at these wave counts and see what they're telling us in the markets, in our S&P, Nasdaq Composite, and then we'll take a look also at Bitcoin and see what's going on there. But today was a flat day, really not a lot of price action. The wave count that I follow, again, I'm looking for the wave 5, and this wave in here was a bit too deep in my view, so we could run the risk that this move in here it's could be a B wave or for that matter a wave 2, and we can turn lower. That's why at these levels here are very important that the market kind of fights through them and continues higher for this to remain intact. There's a kind of a big decision that needs to happen here. And if we do see accelerating selling to the downside, that means that it's probably likely that we have to place the wave 5 here with the possible wave 3 top, and then look for either an ABC or a larger ABC for a fourth wave. We'll see how that goes, but my preferred structure is that this is a wave 1 of this low. This was a wave 2, and then we continue to go maybe another one, a small 2 kind of sideways, and then we kind of follow along the way that kind of the Dow Jones did, and it made a new high in here on the weekly. I don't have the wave counts on this one, but I'm looking for this wave 3 to continue and develop stronger. But I guess if I go on you see that's exactly what I mean. Like we dropped in here, then we did a wave 1, wave 2, and now we're kind of in a 1, 2, 3, like pretty strong acceleration. And you could see this. Yesterday I talked and without looking at the wave counts, because I wanted to show kind of what happens with the value versus growth and with the trends and all. And you notice that for the past several days Dow Jones and was pushing much higher than those growth stocks, and pretty much at least everybody I know and people that I kind of talk to or I kind of follow, and we it's in growth stocks, and people don't really like to be in value, and so market does push higher in the Dow, but not in the S&P that much, not in the Nasdaq. So those portfolios are not looking too good until growth trade starts to kind of pick back up, and we'll see if that happens or not. But again, the Dow Jones here on a weekly time is breaking to new all-time highs. I think that's a pretty positive sign. So I will look to see if the S&P kind of does the same thing and it pushes back above 69.20 and maybe pick up a trend into the end of the year. It's the same story in the Nasdaq Composite, with the pullback, and now we're just kind of stalling. You see, look at the difference. Look how little we rallied in the Nasdaq Composite. Look how we rallied in the S&P a bit higher, and look what happened in the Dow. Right, so there is this divergence between the indexes where Dow is the first one, then is the S&P, and then is the the Nasdaq and the Nasdaq Composite. I haven't even looked at Russell in a while, but I guess if I go on a daily, it's still this kind of looks corrective in here, so we'll see what happens. But I don't have a great idea what this says. Maybe this was a 3 and a 4 in here, and then we're still going to do a little bit of a wave 5. So we gotta watch for that. All right. Oh, gold and silver before I move on to crypto, because you remember we were talking on the sell-off, and I said it's quite unlikely that we will that we will have a top. Because it doesn't look complete to the structures, and this was visible on gold, but even better on silver. So I'm looking for further upside, and I just actually sold today some of my long-term holdings in silver, just kind of physical stuff, because we had a double test of this 50 level, and I wanted to take advantage of that. I do have stuff for later if it moves higher, but I wanted to to just kind of take advantage of this retest of the top. Now, in terms of the wave count, as the market was moving up higher here, I said, you know, it cannot be a top because the structure is not complete. I mean, you can see in here you have 1 2 even another 1 2. Now you're going to do a 3 4 and 5 4 and 5. So there is still, you know, it might be a bit volatile now because you're revisiting the top, and you know, the trend is just slightly broken on the smaller time frame. But I mean, if you look at the weekly, look at this right here. I mean, it looks pretty great, and just reacts exactly what it's supposed to. But that's kind of my thought here on silver, and then you got to deal with this leg, you know, later on. So, you know, we'll see kind of how this goes. But this is kind of my wave count here. I think there's going to be a bit more to develop there. Now let's take a look at Bitcoin and see how that looks. It's important that current levels hold, guys. I think if we lose 100, you know, things can start to look ugly all the way up to 90,000, and that's kind of the next attractive level that's gonna probably get hit in case we're losing this level. Like they're trying really hard to hold. They're trying really hard to hold this. Last week we had 1, 2, 3, about 4 days attempts to make new lows, and then you know, we were up from there. Now, when I looked at the smaller time frame, this move from the high to the low, it could look like it's already done because you can have a 1 2 3 4 and a truncated fifth wave right there. And if you start the wave count on the smaller time frames, or if you start to look from it from here to the top on this daily, you know, you can see up there a relatively decent impulse, and this being, you know, kind of the retest of the lows, and that kind of deeper wave two that, you know, it's meant to discourage traders and think, oh my goodness, you know, the trend is resuming, and you know, it kind of scares people, which is kind of what I feel right now too. I'm like, man, you know, this is probably going to break. So this is important. What happens if we hold here and turn, you know, and we get back above the high? I think we're out of the woods, and then we can start to look for further upside. So we'll see what happens. But the next, if we do lose this one, and we're getting into more like a 1 2 3, some kind of a triangle 4 in here, maybe forming, and then a drop in a wave 5 for a 5 wave move, you know, that level is probably going to be near 90. And if we get below that, then obviously you got 75. But then you're losing a pretty big uptrend, and then you got to deal also with the, you know, with being below the 52-week moving average, which is you know, right here in green. Now I know we're below the 50-day moving average, and also below the 200-day. So, you know, things are tricky in here, and you know, I hear a lot of talk about, you know, people being kind of discouraged about the price action in Bitcoin, and it's like, you know, it's not acting right. It has a, you know, it's disconnected from the Nasdaq, and it feels weak, and it puts pressure, and you know, all those things feel true. You know, right here, as you're basically sitting at some key zones. You know, you know, I'm still going to give you the benefit of the doubt. You know, until proven otherwise, the price is right above 100. So, you know, one could take a bet and say, well, it's going to break. Well, if you do that, then you know, make sure that you know exactly what your risk is and where you're getting out, and good luck with that. If, you know, I would not be a buyer here because there is no signs, and I usually don't like to be a seller of Bitcoin. So, you know, if there's nothing to do, at least personally here, I'm going to continue to kind of watch price and just wait for better signals. Last week we did close above, you know, above this key zone. You know, the wave count, it's a bit iffy. I agree. You know, but again, we have corrective, and these two corrections were actually pretty deep, right? This one, it's the one that's kind of more normal, more kind of sideways, a bit tighter, which is better for price. You know, I never like kind of the fact that we went up, and we failed. You know, that's not the best sign ever, you know, for an uptrend. So, you know, everybody that bought up there and did not get out on the break of this candle, you know, it's suffering the consequences, and I wouldn't want to be long or holding longs based on this pattern. But longer term, or if somebody has a cost basis that's much lower, I'm not that worried. This still looks fine, and like I said, it's really not actionable from a quick swing term perspective. All right, so that's kind of what I have for today. Come again. We're on Discord, on Twitter, up here on YouTube. Leave comments. It's important. Just leave comments and some thumbs up, so we can get a bit better following, and to kind of put our channel out there a bit more. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.